Well, no matter the outcome of the case, it will likely impact one of the nation's best-known news organizations and quite possibly First Amendment law in our country. Sara Coulter is a fellow at the First Amendment Clinic at Case Western Reserve University and joining us now for some analysis on the case. Thanks so much for giving us some time. Really appreciate that. Just in broad strokes, we'll get to the legal tea leaves in just a second. When we talk about the importance of this case in light of the First Amendment and essentially how the news industry works in our country, what is at stake in this case? Give me the big picture first.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So there's a lot at stake in this case. What this case really comes down to, what Fox News will be really hanging its hat on in terms of a defense, is this theory of actual malice. So actual malice is from a 1964 Supreme Court case, New York Times versus Sullivan. Actual malice makes it harder for certain categories of plaintiffs, such as public figures, public officials. You can kind of think of it as people who would be in the news a lot. It gives them a higher standard to prove that they have been defamed. Really, the plaintiff has to prove that the defendant, here Fox News, either knew what it was saying was false or was reckless in terms of falsity. And I understand that this is a lot of legalese that I'm throwing out, so I want to just break it down for a second. Actual malice isn't necessarily how we think of malice in, common law terms, hatred, ill will, or spite towards the plaintiff. Really, what actual malice refers here is maliciousness towards the truth. And reckless disregard, that's something where the plaintiff would have to prove that the defendant either had serious doubts about the statements it was making, or there was contrary evidence and it chose to look away from that evidence.
And that's
this case.
That's at the crux of this, because it is not a crime to lie about something. The actual malice is really the point of this trial. So just in your perspective, you follow the First Amendment very closely. What do you make of Fox News' defense here?
So it's tricky. Like I said, Fox News has really received some major setbacks in recent rulings from this court. Judge Davis has indicated that Fox News would not be able to put on certain defenses to defamation. Fox News indicated that it wanted to say that this was newsworthy, right? This was the sitting president saying that an election was stolen, and therefore it had a duty to report on it, and it was newsworthy. But the judge has indicated that it won't allow Fox News to use newsworthiness as a defense. One other major setback that Fox News received, and again, this is speculation on my part, but it could be because of these rulings that Fox is reigniting these settlement conversations, is the court actually found in its ruling on summary judgment that the statements that Fox made about the 2020 election were in fact false. Again, the First Amendment provides breathing room for some false speech. That's really what actual malice means. It means that some errors are protected so long as the speaker didn't know or wasn't reckless towards the truth. And so again, this is really getting to actual malice, which is really hard to overstate how important actual malice is to the First Amendment and to defamation law in general.
And it is very hard to prove, as it rightfully should be. And so you don't know how a jury ultimately, will see this. And that's why this case is so important. I want to end, again, on a big picture note and some reporting in the Washington Post that kind of gets at the intrigue behind this case. And I want to see if you agree with this. Some observers also view the trial as a symbolic referendum on the truth-challenged alternative facts culture that defined the Trump presidency. A media law professor said, quote, "It appears that disinformation itself, is on trial." That's the subtext of all of this. We live in a different kind of time, and this is a trial, I think, that highlights that when distrust and misinformation run rampant. That's at the heart of the trial in terms of public interest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that that's something that Dominion is going to want to prove. It's going to want to prove that Fox knew that what it was saying was false and that it was reckless that towards that truth or falsity. And I think, again, I just can't overstate how important actual malice is to this because we want to encourage uninhibited and robust debate about matters of public concern and governmental criticism, but it really goes down to what the speaker knew or what they were basing their information on. So I agree that this is going to be a really important case to watch, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
And those text messages and emails paint a very damning picture for Fox News as it tries to mount its defense in this.
And that's another thing. I mean, this trial potentially rips back the curtain on arguably the most powerful media organization in the country and a pivotal dynamic in Republican politics. So there's a lot going on, as they say. Sara Coulter, fellow with the First Amendment Clinic at Case Western Reserve University. Please come back. Really enjoyed the conversation. We know things will only get more interesting from here. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Holly.